Hello traders, my name is Mike Hamilton. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm just going to keep this short and sweet today as I look at the week ahead. What is very interesting on the week ahead is a fairly light week on the data front, except for a couple of key points. The first is on Wednesday there's going to be a ruling on whether Europe can go ahead with quantitative easing, so that's going to have a major impact on the euro, obviously. So I'll be looking at that in a moment. And also on Tuesday, Chinese trade balance is expected to be weak. And the other key factor is on Tuesday that UK inflation is expected to come in weaker. So what does that mean for the markets? Well, at the moment, this Dow, this is 2014 start, 2014 finish. So I've marked off the highs and the lows, and I think we're at the moment the very best. We are in no man's land. We've got this resistance at 18,000 and we've got the support at 17,660. So we dropped, we bounced, and then we closed fairly flat for the week, marginally lower on the week. So with all of that in the balance on the data front, and particularly the uncertainty in European ruling, I think we are at the early stages of the week. We're likely to see just a lot of slop and chop. Could be wrong, but what I'm going to do is stay out of it. And that's the Nasdaq, that's the S&Ps, and this is the German DAX. German DAX is probably the weaker of the two. We keep getting a series of lower highs here. So 1, 2, 3, and then we've got this little move up here. So we are basically coming into an apex on this DAX. And at the moment I'm seeing a distribution pattern. I'm seeing a similar pattern that we had here getting repeated over here. You know, the market's not sustaining the highs and potentially dropping through. We've got all this congestion of a monthly pivot and the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA down here. But overall, at the moment, as we go into the start of the week, I'm bearish, but I'm just going to sit to one side and just see how the market begins to pan out, particularly how the overnight Chinese trade balance comes in, because that's going to have a major impact. So we've got weakness in the US dollar yen. So all I've done is, instead of putting all the fibs all over it, I've just marked major support and resistance. So we've got major resistance at 120.60, major support 115, with a very bearish bar on Friday. US dollar CAD still eking up, looking as if 120 could be coming to shot, but the weekly and the daily is extended, or that is a very bullish close. So I would, in the early part of the week, expect some dollar strength. That's actually a sell signal, a new high with a close below next day. So US dollar Swissy could come down to 100, 170. Let's look at the euro itself. Let's look at euro yen, because euro yen was holding up at 140 last week. I think if we pull back into 141, 142, I think we could roll over, and particularly obviously that ruling on Wednesday, we're going to see a lot of weakness, potential weakness in the euro if that ruling comes into play, because the ECB are meeting, I think it's the 22nd, I'll double check on that. So ECB are meeting on the 22nd with the expectation that they will ease if that ruling goes in their favour. So any pullback in the euro yen, I think this is probably one of the best charts out there. The fact we closed under, we just narrowly closed above 140, but I think this 138 pivot and fib area is begging. We just, if you want to get in this, it's already dropped significantly, so we need to wait for a move to the higher side. The weekly is coming into the 50 EMA. So I'm looking at other euro pairs as well. This euro CAD, I think this move on Friday to the upside will be short-lived, and any push into 141, 142 will be sold into, but I'll report back on that one as well. I did nibble on pound Aussie dollar to the long side, but it failed support, and standing to one side. I now think that we could see 183 on this, and so I will be sitting back and looking at that one. We could come all the way down to 180. Could easily come down all the way to 180 on that one. Alright, pound yen, been following, always following this one very, very closely. We just narrowly closed above 180 on that one, so 178 looks sensible, and if we can't hold 178 and the bearish move continues, then 174.20. Like I said, we've got UK inflation on Tuesday, which is expected to be weaker, so if once we drop 179.20, then I think we'll drop that. I think this big move here, the West missed out on this big move because from memory this happened overnight in the Asian session, so I think we could easily, big moves like this where the market misses out, or the biggest part of the market moves out, quite often sees that boomerang back. So I would not be at all surprised to see this coming in at 175 in this coming week potentially. And the weekly would very much suggest that. Let's look at the weekly just briefly on this. So you can see this is fibs on the last big move. So the high was on July 07 and the low was October 2011 and January 2012. So you can see 175 is massive. So the pullback area on the weekly is 181.60, 182. I'm not sure we're going to see that. I think we'll be lucky to see, excuse me, hang on. I think we're going to be lucky to see even 180 on that one again, but again, I'm just taking it very easy on Monday and we'll report back. Let's have a look at oil and gold. Weekly oil just continues, so we dropped through a fib area and we dropped through a support area, the support from the low of January 07. So this is incredibly weak. So the next level for me, if 47.50 goes, then we could easily come all the way down to 40.41. I have seen a pickup in the inventories, but again, it's very difficult to short when something is this far down, so I would just stick to other markets rather than trying to get involved in oil. Now, if you have missed that move like me, gold, this is the gold on the weekly, so we look as if we could see 12.30, potentially 12.50 again on the gold, hence the reason why pound Aussie dollar is not holding up and continues to slide. Okay, so we've got a lot of resistance on the gold at 12.33. Again, I think we are, I mean, this time last year we saw this, whoops, let me do that again. We saw this move, come on charts, behave yourself. So this move here from there's lows on the start of the year around this cluster and then pushed up very aggressively into this area here, this resistance area here. If that pans out this year, then we could potentially punch up here and then come into 1300. But in the meantime, I would at least expect a test of 12.25, 12.30 on that one. If you want to engage that market, then ideally you need at least 12.10, if not 12. Alright, I do hope that helps. Traders Roundtable, we will be discussing key intra-week levels and how to find key intra-week levels. So if you want to join us, then please do. Let me know if you haven't got a link for that, and I will send that to you. Otherwise, enjoy what's left of your weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you at the next update. Happy trading.